Hello and welcome. It's my new channel, so let's get into it with a bit of a chat about these things. Now, they're called Roman dodecahedrons. Nobody seems to know exactly what they're for. There's a lot of people making claims, but there's nothing being substantiated just yet. So I'm going to throw my head in the ring and see if I can't have a better go at it than any of the current theories. So let's have a look at Wikipedia. Wikipedia is pretty good for everything. Okay, a Roman dodecahedron is a small hollow object made of bronze or stone. Bronze, my butthole. Stone, yep, we'll go with that. Bronze, no. If they found them and they look like bronze, they're probably gold-plated or gold-coated. So before we get any further, I'm just going to come out with what I think they are. Now, the icosahedron, that's an AIDS virus. It's a petrified AIDS virus from a gargantuan, titanically gigantic giant. You'll see just how titanically gigantically giant they are when we get to the size conversion of these things. Pardon me. So about 100 of these things have been turned into the powers that be. Probably a lot more than that have been found and kept. You'll see just down here that a lot of people were keeping them in coin hoards, so they were valuable. Well, proof of giants is pretty bloody valuable, and proof of that the size of the trees that were previously on this place. It takes a little while for the size to just get into your head. So, Wales, Germany, mostly northern Spain, except for they found some gold-covered ones in Southeast Asia, or Asia generally. And the icosahedron, that I believe is a petrified AIDS virus, was found in Arlof. So, let's not waste any more time here. Oh, wait a minute. Let's just have a quick look at what they're claiming these artifacts, that they call them, are. Coal claim areas leading some to speculate they may have been used as a knitting framework. We'll have a look at a video of that in just a moment. The various sizes of the openings correlate with the size of fingers, allegedly. Various videos on the internet have surfaced with varying degrees of success. It's far from conclusive evidence. Well, I think this evidence today is going to be pretty bloody conclusive. Smaller dodecahedra with the same features, holes and knobs, have been made from gold found in Southeast Asia. So they're all over the world, these things, and just maybe they're on the surface where you are, maybe they're buried, maybe they were on the surface and we're down below it, maybe they're under the oceans, who knows, but they're going to be everywhere because plants have been everywhere. They've been used for decorative purposes, and from the earliest it appears to be from the Roman epoch. Bullshit. There's a pretty good image of the one that we're going to be talking about mostly in this first section. This is the icosahedron. Keep note of the greenish tinge, and importantly, we want to keep in mind that these things are allegedly, they're claiming from 4 to 11 centimeters, or for you folks that are in the imperial, that's 1.6 to 4.3 inches. Another bit of a look here. So you can see, there's not much anyone has to say about them. There's a few scientific papers, but they're not very accurate, not at all accurate in my opinion. They just come up with these fanciful bloody stories and try and make them fit, because they don't have eyes to see what they really are, because they have no idea what this place is, and they believe the lie that the phonies have been spinning. Right. Now, we'll start at the beginning, and we can have a look at the text at the start, and then we'll skip to the ta-da. Oh wait, there's no sound on this one. I'll just turn it back down so I don't blast my ears out in a moment. They look like they're designed to catch wool. I give this guy credit. He has come up with his own idea, and or maybe it wasn't his idea, but I'm attributing it to him anyway. So good on him for having to think about it for himself and not just swallowing what everybody else is going on about. So let's get to the end. 3 hours it's taken to get that far. And so this guy believes he sold a missile. It's not a missile. It's a mystery. What am I talking about? Okay, there you go. It's a glove. Pretty crappy glove, and for a child too. So let's just leave them with their little glove there. Now that's what ATS is supporting. Mystery. Fox News have got onto. Well, I wonder if this will make the news. Probably not. They don't like the truth. As I said, petrified AIDS virus from an enormous humanoid. Absolutely enormous. So you want to keep in mind, you've got a zippered edge. Or I'm not saying it's not actually a zipper, I'm sure, but it looks zippered, so that's what I'm going to call it. And you've got your segments, 3 segments on the outer balls, and a lot more in the center. These things are hollow, obviously, Again, it's very clear that these are green, and you can see on these images a bit clearer. This one's made of stone. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think, according to the history, his story, they should call it Phostory, the Phoenician story. So, quite clear in this black and white image. I think it's a little bit higher res, or it's just a little bit clearer to me that this is made of stone in this image. So just coming back to my previous comment, who the hell is carving this out of stone in the time frame that they're suggesting? Now, obviously the Dremel's gone a bit wild here, and they've sort of lost control of it, and no, that's probably not what's happened. They completely knocked off this one. So these things are obviously tumbling around in the ground or what have you, and it's it's encumbered some damage in the time since it's been petrified. Now, if you have seen it before, I want you to go and check out Mud Fossil University. Roger, the man is a genius. He's put some things together that really helped open my eyes, along with some other guys. Most recently, let's knock them out here. So we got Martin, Flat Earth British, Leaf, Flat Earth British Sub, UAP, Wise Up, John Levi, the Crow House, Maxwell Egan. These guys are telling it like it is, like they believe it to be, and you can't do better than that. It's not this mainstream bollocks. It doesn't make any sense at all. This is an AIDS virus. AIDS virus, Roman dodecahedron. AIDS virus, dodecahedron. AIDS virus, dodecahedron. I don't think I really do need to do any more than that, but I will. Here you can see the zippered edge running along that face. It's not quite so clear on this one because this thing's fully hydrated in this state. It's probably coming out of a nice little test tube, done its separation, and now they're banging it under the scanning electron, and here's the image that we get back. These guys have obviously all been knocked off with time on the example that we're seeing, and you can see these are attached on those circular bits. There's obviously a 2 or 3 stage form of attachment. That's why you get the concentric rings. So there'd be an outer layer of like a skin, an inner layer of connective tissue, and then another layer of connective tissue underneath that that's a little bit more substantive. I'm going to go ahead and suggest that in the life of these, either these inflate like a balloon, or once they dry out, they constrict down to the shape of like a knob, which leaves us with what we're ending up with here. So probably more likely they puff up like a balloon when they get to delivering their precious cargo of the AIDS virus. Here's another image. Now, there's a couple of different types, at least 2 different types of HIV that I've read about. Possibly more than that. I didn't need to do too much research to determine, well, with a fairly good degree of certainty what these things are. And here we are again. Another proposed theory for these is that they die, like your Dungeons and Dragons kind of die. Again, it could have just formed differently, different substrate, different petrification material afterwards. If you're not too sure on how the petrification occurs, it's when a plant dies. Like I'll use the example of petrified wood. So a tree dies or doesn't die, it's submerged in a substrate that's full of high in liquid, high in chemical composition, and basically what happens is the lignin and the cellulose leach out of the timber, and they're replaced by minerals that are available in the substrate. That's how you get the different coloured petrified wood. So depending on what's available in the substrate or in the solvent solution, that's what you get coming out of it. Whichever's got the greater affinity to replace the lignin and the cellulose, that's what does. And the same thing happens with these. And the dodecahedrons. This is the icosahedron. So here's the size, right? So we've got 4 to 11 centimeters, centi, and then for the HIV virus, that is 120 to 150 nanometers. So orders of magnitude difference. So basically flip this over, we're going the other way. So 10 to the 9 larger than we are, minus the 0, that's how tall the creature that it came from. What can you say about that? If that's what it is, then that's the size of creature that's come from. That's mind-boggling. Absolutely bloody mind-boggling. Now here's a bit of an example of how these things get petrified. Petrification is like crystallization. And then after the fact, substrate may have changed due to volcanoes. Insert your cause here. That's going to be a changing event in the environment and changing the composition of the substrate. Maybe the thing's gone up or down, deeper or shallower in the layers, and it's come into a substrate that contains gold. And the gold's, lashed onto the outside, and basically done a job of plating it, essentially. The gold crystals growing around the outside of the already formed dodecahedron. Now, for HIV viruses part 1, this is part 2. Pollen, fossilized and petrified pollen. That has been too enormous for them to consider it being what it actually is. They've got a few different names for it. Carved stone balls. Yeah, right. Just like the carved stone caves. Come on. Now, in this example, they're calling them platonic solids from 2000 BC. These are slightly different than your dodecahedrons that we're looking at, but it's the same concept. These are different kinds of pollen from probably trees that may or may not still be around. We're going to have a look particularly at a couple of different types of pollen that I've got good examples of. So there's a picture of your carved stone balls. There's a few different types that they've got on display. We're going to mainly be focusing on this one, and these two, and to some extent this one. Now this is a very common shape for pollen, and a very quick Google search will turn that one up. Now these ones took a little bit more time to find, so I'm going to focus on them and explaining how that's happened. So this guy we're going to be looking at, I haven't actually come across anything in this configuration just yet, but it's fairly early into my research, so I'll update this video. I'll post another one if I find what this is from or what type of pollen that is. We're going in there. There we go. Electron microscope picture of pollen. So this one I think correlates very nicely with this one and that one. It's got a slightly wider opening, triangular sort of points. I mean, there's a slight variation there, but it's probably from a slightly different part of the genus, or species rather, slightly different species. Now here's your ragweed. This one, this is going to blow your mind. So there's your ragweed pollen. Bang, there's your carved stone ball, allegedly carved stone ball. All this is one of these with the tips knocked off after it's petrified. So just minus a little pointy bit. It's not too hard to understand how those would have worn off. I'll let you mellow on that for a moment. Here is your dodecahedrons. Hollow in the middle. You've probably got segments underneath here. This green part, that's like a thin skin that grows over the outside of the pollen case. Inside is the seed, the male sperm, that's being transported to the egg in this contraption. There's going to be some sort of chemical transmission going on here. So this knows when it gets into the flower to open up and let go of the seed. There's your dodecahedron again. You can see once it gets there, it gets a signal that it's in the seed, akin to pheromone signal that you get, to know that it's time to become aroused. In this case, it knows that it's time to drop the segments out so it can release the seed from inside, the seeds from inside as quickly as possible into the flower. Now here, it's a bit more clear to see what I'm talking about. Each one of these points, that's where your knobs are, and you can see a bit more clearly on this one, how this skin is stretched over the underlying skeleton of a different kind of material that has lasted, that has become fossilized, and that's why we still have it today. There's your ball. There's your knobs. There's your knobs. There's another one. Different species, same configuration. Now you can see quite a few easily deformed. I don't know whether that's from either an environmental pathogen or if this is just a statistical component where a certain amount of them are deformed. Like in humans, a certain amount of the sperm end up being deformed. That's Wikipedia's nonsense about what they think they are. Now here is the one that's got the 4 lobes, or 3 lobes, however many, 4 lobes, so there's these 3 and one on the back. This little knob has obviously grown in a spiral, which has left that pattern underneath, and as has these bits growing around the outside. Now this is from Demirius winteri, a winterbark or a canelo, depending on where you're living and what you're calling it. Now these guys are 45 to 55 microns, not bloody 7 to 10 centimeters. This is the part in the middle. It's grown like a fingerprint, and it's got like something akin to a skin tag. Obviously, it's not a skin tag, but that's something that I'm using to just as a metaphorical descriptor to help you get your head around what these things are. Nobody's carved these. I'm sorry, not unless they had Dremels and other sorts of high-speed engraving tools at the time they're saying it. So either way, their story's falling apart. This isn't the history that we've been fed, the phony story, history. It's not holding on anymore. It's coming apart at the seams. Here's another one. Obviously, this one's had a bit of a rougher time of it. It's petrified, fossilized. Excuse me, I keep saying petrified, fossilized when I mean petrified. And it's just obviously been eroded a little bit more, whether through mechanical damage. And here you can see the outside layer, the lowest layer of skin on this one's just coming off. And underneath there, or above, that's where you'll find all the swirls. It's just been knocked off, and it's coming off in layers. It's not too hard to figure out, guys. If you want to have a good lesson in this type of stuff, the fossilization, there we go again. Petrification, Roger Spur, Phostory University, the dude's a genius. This is the one, I don't believe this is one, it could very well be, but this is just to illustrate how they become covered in gold. So the thing's petrified, along comes another part of the substrate or the solution coming through that's containing some gold particles, and bang, they latch onto the new skeleton and grow like a crystal all over it to cover it. So that's what I think. I think we've knocked it on the head here, guys. So we found out the dodecahedrons aren't dodecahedrons, they're fossilized pollen, gigantic fossilized pollen, petrified. Ugh, there I go again. And the icosahedron, not a toy, not a rangefinder, not a bloody glove knitting tool, it's a fossilized, petrified, and fossilized HIV virus. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. If I'm out of my gourd and this doesn't make any sense at all, let me know. And I've got a couple more of these little subjects to talk about, so expect some more videos coming soon. Peace out, and thanks for watching.